The Sci-Horror Film Podcast. Hello and welcome to the Sci-Horror Film Podcast. I am Andy Walker, as some of you may have known. Those of you that don't, now you do. And I am joined, as usual, by my son, Scott. Hello, Scott.
Hello there.
How are you?
I'm okay. Why was there such a long pause?
Why the big pause? Ha ha ha. Anyway, this week we have two science fiction films. Two science fiction short films. And no, we haven't.
Horror.
One, yeah, one of them, I don't know what. Anyway, we've got two short films and a long film.
Well, we might as well start as we mean to go on and already lose the bit. Well,
Yeah, I couldn't agree.
lose the ability of how to talk.
I couldn't agree more. So here we are again, all happy and convenient, all that kind of stuff. So we're going to start off with a short film,
Yes.
as is our want. One week we might mix it up and do the feature film first, just for the fun of it. Just no, maybe not.
No,
Anyway.
because that would confuse you even more.
I know. Well, yeah, we do the first film and then I'd end it. So yes, okay, short film. The first short film is called Experiment 18. It's made in 2022 from Hit Start Films, created by Adrian R.
Arr. You're pirate.
R. Now, I was a bit miffed by this because the cast says Madeline Miller and Arctic Vox. Not quite sure what that means, but there you go.
Maybe he's related to the disco pit.
There you go. The synopsis says, weeks after physics student Mark Stevenson has seemingly disappeared, his sister Stephanie visits his apartment to see if she can find any clues as to where he is. Now, I was confused by this because of the fact that it said that it was horror, but I think it's actually more sci-fi.
I think it's one that sits very precariously on the border of both, I think, really.
It's a precarious border to sit on.
Yeah, I think it's got a mixture of both of them.
Yeah. I mean, the effects weren't bad when she like finds this portal thing in the table. It's quite interesting.
Yeah, she's lowering her phone into it. I thought it was very well done. Camera angle was powerful, very well done.
There's a good atmosphere to the whole film. But I kind of felt like something was missing. I want to know more about what's going on, and it didn't sort of explain it to me, and I just felt a bit dissatisfied by it.
Yeah, I think it's unlike the other films like we watched. I think last week we said it was a bit too long. I think this could have been done with a little bit longer and maybe a little bit of explanation.
Yeah,
like because obviously she finds the notes and the rules, but she reads these rule things, but doesn't read anything like the notes that are next to it. And it's just like a little bit of sort of an understanding of what, even if it was just like a quick little run through of what he typed up or whatever, I think could have done it better.
Yeah, it did leave me feeling a little bit dissatisfied. But it's a good film. It's well made and all that kind of thing. So the effects are really good and everything. But yeah, maybe, I don't know, maybe they're planning on doing some kind of follow-up to it or something, because it only came out this year. So
Yeah,
Possibility they might be trying to expand on it or doing a follow up or something.
yeah. Okay,
We'll have to wait and see.
it definitely left me sort of wanting to know a bit more about it. I was saying the graphics too was very well done.
Yeah, yeah,
Visual effects were very well done. Well, I know it's meant to be sort of in the dark, but it was very dark. It could have, I think, for me, it could have done with a little bit of lightening up, just to sort of give that a little bit more of an atmosphere. Like when she sees the figure, whatever is in the corner, it's very hard to tell. Well, it
yeah,
is because especially if they because I know when you put videos on up on YouTube, it comes out a bit darker than what they record them at. So obviously, if they've recorded it and it's able to be seen, when you watch it, it's a bit harder.
yeah, yeah,
So it's just something maybe they need to it could do with sort of taking into factor to sort of maybe lighten it up just a little bit. So when you're watching it back, you can actually see what someone's reacting to.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think it's worth a watch though. It's worth having a look at because I think that there's. I mean, I haven't seen much stuff from them, so I'm hoping that this is, if this is an early on thing, and then there's some good stuff to come from. I would say.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, give it a check out. Now we're going to go back in. We're going to go back in time. Um, the second film is called. I think it's pronounced Vacuity. I don't know what it means. I'm not sure it's important. It comes from 2013, and it was a student short film that was made as part of an undergraduate course. It's written and directed by Michael Metzer. And as I say, it said on there, made as part of the undergraduate course at the School of Film and Photography in Montana State University. The cast is Michael Stepp, and the synopsis says, trapped in a dying space station airlock, Alan must choose survival to see his family again or sacrifice to save his crew. Dun, dun, dun.
Hmm.
What do you reckon?
I think this is another film for me that was lacking something. I'm not 100% sure what. I don't know whether or not it was just it was me, maybe because I was in a bit of a weird mood when I watched them, but I don't know. It felt like it was missing something for me.
Yeah, I mean, I I think it's an interesting idea.
Mm.
I think that the limited space, being as he was in the airlock, really worked well because it made the whole thing more intense.
Oh yeah,
Um, Yeah, I think it's one of these ones where we've seen before, where it looks like it could be the end or the middle part of a bigger movie, and I think that it just kind of missed something because there wasn't something either side of it or before it. You know what I mean?
yeah,
But it was, I mean, it was well done. The computer graphics and the voice and that sort of thing are very well done.
yeah,
And I did notice there were quite interesting nods to the original US space program because all of the crew members all the crew members have got names of uh, other of old astronauts and that sort of thing.
yeah,
It's quite interesting done. And the lighting and camera work, I think, were good. I think it's a good film. I like the film. I like the look of it and the feel of it. But as you
yeah,
say, I think there was just something, and I think it is because it felt like it should have been part of something bigger.
yeah. I was to say, it's the sort of the actual film, like the whole dilemma that he's in,
Mm,
is for me personally, like it's not something I would ever want to be involved. Like have to make that decision. Either
no.
making a decision to sort of leave people behind that are meant to be trusting you to have the possibility of seeing your family, or and like basically putting them people to sort of basically survive or not on their own, or run the risk of not seeing them and helping other people survive, possibly getting back. And it's one of them things that sort of it's a very hard dilemma to do and to put across on a film.
Yeah,
Like that he's acting with that whole decision you could see was genuinely sort of for me sort of it looked like a genuine emotion to it.
yeah, yeah.
But I'm saying I think there needs to be something either a little bit before or a little bit after, just to sort of give it that little bit extra.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I mean, again, it's another one that was a well-made film. I mean, it's 2013. I'd like to know what he's gone on to do.
Yeah.
If he's still in making films, what other films he's made, and it'd be quite interesting to see. Okay, so on to our feature film, which is a 1984 science fiction film called Dreamscape.
Yes.
Now, this is directed by Joseph Rubin, who also directed The Stepfather in 1987 and The Forgotten in 2004. Now, the writers of this, Joseph Rubin co-wrote it, but he hasn't written anything else really. It was just a thing that he co-wrote some of the screenplay. The two main writers were David Lowery, who did some TV stuff in the 90s. He also was involved in the writing of the screenplay of Star Trek V: The Final Frontier, Nurse in 2013, and The Intruder in 2019. Chuck Russell, who was involved in the writing of A Nightmare on Elm Street 3: Dream Warriors in 1987, the remake of The Blob in 1988, the remake of Witchboard, which is in pre-production, and a film called The Seven Sins: Dawn of the Tyrant King, which is in development, apparently. The cast is, let's see, Dennis Quaid, the younger of the Quaid brothers, I think, did some TV stuff in the 70s and the 2010s. In between that, he was in Jaws 3D in 1983, Enemy Mine 1985, Inner Space in 1987, Frequency in the year 2000, The Day After Tomorrow in 2004, Battle for Terror. He was did a voice on that as an animated film. Pandorum in 2009, Legion in 2010, Kin in 2018, The Intruder in 2019, and Strange World in 2022, which I really want to go and see. Looks bizarre. For some reason, he seemed to take the whole of the 90s off. Well, what he did in the 1990s. Mind you, as I say, as we've said before, we are only looking at science fiction.
Yeah, he probably did do quite a bit in between other films.
Yeah. Right, now, we also have Max von Sydow. He's been around forever, Max von Sydow. He did some shorts and TV work in the 50s, 90s, 2000s, and 2010s. Now, I don't know if you classed Seventh Seal as being a horror film, really, but he was in that. That was long ago. He was in Hour of the Wolf in 1968, The Night Visitor in 1971, The Exorcist 1973, The Ultimate Warrior in 1975, Exorcist II: The Heretic in 1977, Black Journal in 1977, Death Watch in 1980, Flash Gordon in 1980, Conan the Barbarian 1982, The Soldier's Tale in 1984, Dune in 1984. He provided the voice for a character in Ghostbusters 2 in 1989, but he was uncredited. Quite strange. Needful Things in 1993, Judge Dredd in 1995, Sleepless 2001, Minority Report in 2002, Night of the Living Dorks in 2004, but he was uncredited for that. The Wolfman in 2010, he was only available in the director's cut and was uncredited. And Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens in 2015. Yeah. And then we have Christopher Plummer, who did some shorts and TV stuff in the 50s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s. He was in The Spiral Staircase in 1975, Star Crash in 1978. Why? Empire in Venice in 1988, Minefield in 1989, Star Trek VI: The Undiscovered Country in 1991, Wolf in 1994, 12 Monkeys in 1995, The Clown at Midnight. I don't know when that was, actually. Might have been late 90s. Dracula 2000 in 2000. 9. He did provide the voice for a character in 9 in 2009, and Priest in 2011.
Yeah.
Then we have Eddie Albert, who did some TV stuff in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. He was in quite a few things like the Twilight Zone things and that sort of stuff. And he did a film in 1975 called The Devil's Reign, which has to be seen to be believed, to be honest. Yeah. Then we have Kate Capshaw, who did some TV stuff in the 1980s and did a film called Space Camp in 1986. It doesn't seem to have done a lot of it doesn't seem to have done any other sci-fi or horror stuff apart from that. But she has made lots of other films. Then we have David Patrick Kelly, who did some TV stuff in the 80s, 90s, 2000, and 2010s. He was in The Crow in 1994.
Yeah.
He was in K-Pax in 2001 and VFW in 2019. Then we have George Wendt, who's probably best known for being in Cheers.
Yeah.
He did some TV stuff in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, and 2010s. He was in Jekyll and Hyde Together Again in 1982, House in 1985, Forever Young in 1992, Space Truckers in 1996, VFW in 2019, and Alien Clowns and Geeks, which I think hasn't come out yet, I'm not sure. And then we have, that's it. So the synopsis says, a man who can enter and manipulate people's dreams is recruited by a government agency to help cure the President of the United States of his nightmares about nuclear war, but stumbles upon an assassination plot.
Yeah.
So, it's not a bad film, but there's a lot about it that kind of doesn't really work. It's almost like this. It's like somebody's made a TV cop show and then written sci-fi stuff into it.
Yeah.
There's some. It's a good idea. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think it's a good idea, and there's some really good effects, and there are some that are not great, but they're okay for the time. And the acting's good, but then you'd expect it to be because it's a very, most of the cast are very experienced actors and actresses.
Yeah,
So
even at that time, really, a lot of them were. They've been in a lot of films and TV.
yeah. There's a few bits that kind of weird. I find quite interesting. It's like they grab him and they take him to this place to see if they can get him to work for them. They go in, the security guard says, sign here, and puts a thing in front of them. Nobody signs in. They just go straight through. Just quite interesting.
What I think's funny though is the fact that he's quite. He's meant to be psychic.
Yeah.
He's meant to have all these powers, but yet seems very surprised by everything that's going on.
Yeah, well, I don't know. He can get in people's dreams. I'm not sure if he can just read minds just willy nilly. He has to.
Well, no, but he can. From what I gathered mainly by his gambling addiction, that he could give like a few people over of like what was going to happen and sort of really. So surely he must have been able to see or know something that was going on.
I suppose he should really have some idea of something.
Yeah, it's just like I've got to admit though, it was a bit weird watching. Bit of a weird feeling for me watching, even though I know it was a film, but watching him invade the Doctor's dreams.
Yeah, that was a little bit. I think that would be something that maybe nowadays would be kind of.
Yeah, it would be very frowned upon nowadays.
And it's the same. Like there's a really pointless piece in it where he does this thing where he goes into this married guy's dream to find out what his wife's been doing, and he finds her having sex with his brother, and it's kind of like it's mildly amusing but not really funny.
Yeah,
and no point in being in the film at all, really, apart from to show that he can go into people's dreams, and you can already know that. So it's just like the point of it.
Really... I did like the part of it where him and when he's in the president's dream, and the guy changes into the sort of snake monster.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
That
some of
thing
the
was
effects
very
like
well
that
done.
were very good, but it's like the thing that got me about that was because the other guy was the guy who played the kind of villain of the piece in the film The Warriors. Well,
Yeah,
um, but the thing that got me was the fact that the both of them, if you look at it, and both of them are kind of egotistical gits, but in a slightly different way from each other.
yeah. Well, yeah, they're sort of one a bit worse than the other, but neither of them really give off good guy
Yeah,
qualities.
they're not exactly heroes.
No,
You
like it's
know?
obviously like it seems like no, the sort of the guy that's meant to be the hero, and it obviously, like we said, uses his powers for invading this woman's dreams that he likes, and
Yeah,
starts putting ideas in her head basically and pushing it that way. And the other guy's just a killer, and it's just like, yeah, okay, you both one's worse than the other, but really you're not really even that well off and were that good.
it's. I mean, this really. I think this is a conspiracy theorist's dream film, isn't it?
Oh,
Because
yeah, the thing is, a guy in it. The guy, there's a writer in it who is trying to put off about the fact that this is a conspiracy theory thing going on.
the thing about it is, it's like sort of everything in it feeds into a conspiracy theory of one type or another. You know,
Yeah.
because you've got the government are invading people's dreams, are training people to invade people's dreams. Um, these people can kill people while they're in their dreams.
Yep.
Um, one of them's trying to invade the president's dreams to kill him, and the other one's going in to try and save the president. And it's all kind of like, how many conspiracy theories are we going for here?
But it's not even that. Like, the other one as well is the president wants to denuclear, sort of give up nuclear arms and stuff like that. And there's the whole conspiracy thing of the secret parts of the government that control everything else that's going on, and
Yeah,
they're against it, so they're going to stop him. I'm like, and I agree with it. Like, how many conspiracy theories do you want to throw in one film?
absolutely. It's.
It's just,
I think. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think it's a good film. It's not great, but it's good. It's kind of it's an okay watchable film. I think if you haven't seen it for about sort of 10 years, then it's worth sitting down and having a watch again. You know, but it's not something I'd go out of my way to say, oh yeah, you really got to watch it. You know.
yeah.
One thing I can't understand, to be honest, given everything else that's been done, I can't understand why somebody hasn't done a remake of this. Because I think the idea is really good.
Oh, the thing is as well for it is what I think the way that it was left off, I think they might have tried aiming for a sequel,
Yeah, I
because
don't
there
think.
was the guy that when he invades her dream, the
Mm,
conductor on the
yeah,
train that they're on, they then see the exact same guy later on at the end of the film on the real train.
yeah,
And even they look at each other like, hang on.
yeah,
And I think that's sort of they left it open for there. But it's just, yeah, I do agree with it. It's like, it's such a great idea. And okay, yeah, you might have to change a few little bits, but it would be so good to see what they could do with it now.
yeah. I mean, looking at the sort of effects you could use now, and things like that, just the general idea of them invading people's dreams and doing this sort of thing. I mean, yeah, there's been other films about things like what was it called? The one about the people going into people's dream.
So you got Inception.
Inception, that's the one.
Yeah.
There's been a few other films about people going into people's dreams, and Inception was really good.
Well,
But I really liked Inception, but I think this could be remade quite
I
easily and quite well.
I do like the fact that this is a typical film, sort of at that time where the way they put across dark and creepy is by making everything a bit of a weird shape.
Yeah,
They go into the boy's dream and or the boy's nightmare, and that's where they first find this snake monster, and he sort of helps him in that. The fact the way to make it look all really creepy is the fact that everything's out of shape and not oddly
yeah.
warped. I'm like,
But
does that need to be like that? Surely it being scary and thunder and lightning is enough.
what I was interested by though is the fact that it was it was made into a family-friendly enough film by not having any nudity in it, which for
Yeah,
the mid-80s is quite
yeah.
good for a sci-fi film.
Well, for the 80s, it's good for a film.
Yeah,
From what we've seen with
it,
other films in the 80s.
it did at times have a look of a made-for-TV sort of like. There were bits that almost looked like they could have been taken out of Starsky and Hutch, or you know,
Yeah,
something
the
like
sort
that.
the chase around the horse
Yeah,
track with part of. See that as well. I think that guy was so trusting. Right? He's talking to someone that screwed him over before.
yeah.
Turns around and says, "All right, if you give me the name of 6 winning horses, I'll let you go and I'll help you out." He goes, "Yeah, all right." He's never going to go back.
No, well, yeah,
So just that's a bit of like you're just trusting someone really. It's just like he's screwed you over before. Why would you believe him? No matter how much of a trouble he's in or what he can promise you, why?
yeah. No, I agree. I agree. But I mean, okay, as far as films for this time go, it was okay. But I mean, if I was going to watch a science fiction film with Dennis Quaid in from the mid-80s, I would go for Enemy Mine because it was a much better film.
I don't think I've actually seen that
Um, I mean, even Inner Space was quite good.
one.
But so yeah, I mean, it's okay. It's
Yeah,
not great, but it's okay.
yeah.
Um, it's a night. One thing I will say is it's a 1980s science fiction film that we haven't ripped apart and said is bloody awful.
No, it has its moments. But it's not. It's nowhere near up the top one.
It's not as bad as Starship's Invasions,
Yeah.
mind you. Very little is.
No.
Um, so yes, so there we are. We have the two short films, Experiment 18 and Vacuity, I don't know how you pronounce it, Vacuity, I think. And then the 1984 film Dreamscape. So yeah, give them a watch, see what you think. If you
Yeah. Let
think,
us know if you've got any other opinions.
yeah, I mean, if you think that we're completely talking out of orifices in our body not normally allowing with for verbal communication, then please tell us.
It's a very long way of putting it, but yeah. Yeah, obviously we know that our opinion isn't the same as everyone else's because if everyone's opinion was the same, then this planet would be very very boring. But please let us know if you think we've missed something about it.
Yes. Yeah, no, I mean, if you disagree with what we've said, then let us know and tell us why, and we'll probably ignore you. But we may well mention the fact that you've said that you disagree with us.
Yeah, we might mention it.
Well,
You'd
no, we
have to
will
listen. You'd
actually. We
have to
will
listen
actually.
into the week after just to make sure. Maybe the week after that, just in case we missed it.
Or in case there is another glitch in the matrix and we end up with the shows being put out in the wrong
Yeah,
order or missed completely or something.
it wasn't put out in the wrong order. It was just
Well, no, it was put out in the wrong
no,
order.
no. I was trying to be nice, but no, it wasn't. It was just put out in the
No,
wrong order.
there was a screw up and it was put out in the wrong
Yeah,
order. Simple as
as we
that.
pointed out before, it was a screw up in our production team.
Yeah, we'll blame the production team, whoever they are.
Yeah, not the naming of the files or anything else.
Right, so there we are. That's us for this week. Next week, more of the same, only different. Don't ask me. I've got no idea. We have next week. We have two actual sci-fi films.
Actual
Short
sci-fi films
films.
instead of the make-believe one we've seen
Yeah,
before.
two short science fiction films and a horror feature film. Then the week after that is going to be all sci-fi, and
All of
the
the time.
reason for that we're going to have three sci-fi films, and the reason for that is because we put this out on a Thursday,
Yeah.
and Halloween is on a Monday, it
Yeah.
falls in between two shows. So we're going to do 2 Halloween specials.
Okay.
We're going to do the Thursday before Halloween and the Thursday after Halloween. It's going to be just Halloween films.
Okay.
2 shorts and 1 long for each one.
Wicked.
So,
well, we say that if they put out in the right order.
If they're put well, no, there'll still be two Halloween. It just might be part 2 before part 1. You know. Anyway, thank you very much, Scott, for being part of the show.
That's okay. I'm glad to be part of it.
I'm glad you're part of it too. And thank you to anybody and everybody listening, watching, feeling in Braille,
participating in sign language.
Yeah, watching it in semaphore, watching smoke signals over the hill.
Smoke
dolphins, and maybe reading it in the local message pig. And thank you so much for everything. And we will be back next time. Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.
The Sci-Fi Film Podcast.